A couple episodes ago, I talked all about cannabis for sleep and what to look for and how to find it and how to choose it. And I didn't get too deep into why that's so important for our fitness and our weight loss goals. And so we're going to do that today. Hi, I'm Beth, your personal trainer and cannabis educator. And this is the Canna Fitness and Nutrition podcast where we talk about things like sleep and all things fitness, all things nutrition, and all things cannabis and how they interplay. And I actually love this topic because it is so basic. Sleep is the most basic thing you can do. And cannabis is excellent at supporting it. But I really want to dig into why this is so important so that you know really what to look for and what's going on and why this could be the missing piece of your weight loss puzzle. Here's what's going on. In the most basic scientific way, because you know me, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I appreciate science, but I don't love talking science. I don't ever feel super comfortable with that, so I keep things on just like a super basic level. So in the most basic scientific way, your body needs sleep to process and repair all of its systems, right? For example, when you work out, what happens when you work out is you actually rip and tear the muscles microscopically, okay? Not like you're hurting yourself, but that's the process. When you lift weights, when you resistance train or cardio, you're microscopically breaking down and tearing the muscles. When you sleep, your body brings nutrients from the food you've eaten, water, and enzymes to the muscles to repair them so that they grow back stronger. I am in my head, I've got like little workmen working on my biceps and like with their little hammers, hammering them back together. And I know it's not what really happens, but it's pretty impressive that your body knows to go seek out nutrients from what you've eaten, water that you've drank for hydration, and whatever enzymes it uses to go ahead and repair those muscles. Side note, your muscles do not grow back bigger, they grow back stronger and denser, tighter, right? Tighter, denser, not necessarily bigger. So anyway, I think that's a really great example of why sleep is so important to your workout recovery and to your overall goals, is because all of your muscle repair happens at night. Similarly, your brain goes into a deep processing state where it's sorting and organizing everything that happened that day, right? And it's resetting and going through this regular cycle that your neurotransmitters go through. Again, similarly, your hormones, and I'm not talking like necessarily estrogen, progesterone, although they might have a cycle too. I'm talking more like adrenaline, cortisol, insulin. They all have a natural cycle in your body. For example, cortisol actually drops overnight and peaks in the morning. So you need the full cycle of cortisol to avoid running on high cortisol all day long and all night and never getting that reset. You need a reset of all of the hormones for you to feel normal, regulated, healthy, not like you're just running on stress all the time. Unfortunately, I think a lot of us are used to running on stress all the time and maybe don't even notice this. But let's talk a little bit about what it really looks like and how you might be feeling because you're not getting sleep, or if you were to not get the sleep that you need. What it looks like in real life is, this is a big one, I see this a lot, is you're starving by 3 p.m. and you're still having cravings all night long, right? I have a lot of clients who struggle with that 3 p.m. slump, right? I guess everybody calls it the 3 p.m. slump, right? Where you kind of want to nap. You've burned off even if you ate lunch, you've burned it off, right? It's already digested and gone. It's still a few hours till dinner. You're kind of done with your day. You don't have a lot of energy. You want coffee and sugar, right? And if you haven't been sleeping, your body is searching for more energy desperately because it needed the sleep to repair and restore that energy reserves. Okay, so if you haven't been sleeping, you're often just starving at 3 o'clock, right? Maybe you have a snack, maybe it's good, maybe it's a good choice, maybe it's not the best choice. And oftentimes you're just hungry all night long. Like you just eat and then you have dinner and then you eat more and you have more cravings and more cravings. And the more fatigued you are, psychologically, the more fatigued you are, the harder it is to make better decisions about what you're going to snack on, right? If you're starving at 3 o'clock and you run to Starbucks, you might also come home with a cake pop, right? Because that's what happens when we're tired and hungry, right? If you on a regular day where you have plenty of energy and you're feeling good at 3 o'clock, you might just run over for a Starbucks, a drink, and you might be fine, right? You might not be hungry at that point. And nighttime cravings, same exact situation. You're exhausted and you just lose the capacity to make the best decision possible. All you care about is just you're hungry and you're exhausted. So you choose whatever's easiest, right? That's when you swing through Burger King. That's when you swing through the Chick-fil-A. That's when you order a pizza on the way home so that it's ready to go and you don't have to cook dinner. That's when, even if you had a healthy dinner, you afterwards, you're like, oh, I just really want some ice cream. You know, when my clients confess to me, I say confess, not that like it's a bad thing, I'm just saying a lot of times that's how it comes out. They'll be like, oh, I had ice cream last night, or I just really wanted chocolate. And then I ask about what the day looked like, and they'll be like, yeah, well, I was up all night with, a sick dog or a sick kid, or I couldn't sleep, or, a lot of times it's just I couldn't fall asleep. I just laid there. I thought I was tired, but I couldn't fall asleep. Or a lot of times it's I thought I was tired and I went to sleep, but then I woke up at 2:30 and I couldn't get back to sleep. I hear that a lot too. Those are a lot of times that is directly connected to the fact that you're craving ice cream and craving chocolate at night, right? And maybe chocolate's not your thing. You're not a sweets person. For you, it might be chips, right? Chips, French fries, things that are salty. That is such a strong connection. And you may have already realized that just by putting things together and looking at your own patterns that like, okay, when I don't sleep good and I wake up in the middle of the night and lay there at 2:30, I often have cravings at night, right? You may have already connected that, but maybe I'm here to validate that, but I'm also just going to say like maybe you didn't realize quite the impact that that's having on the overall picture. Okay, because it could be the thing that's really holding you back. And I know it seems like, oh, maybe you need more willpower. Maybe you need more sleep. And that's really something to target. Another example, maybe you are super, super sore and don't feel like working out, right? Maybe it's normal time for your workout, time for your gym or your training session, and you're just like, oh, I just cannot today. I'm so sore. I have no energy. That could be because you did not sleep. Does that happen on the days where you're not sleeping well? Because it likely is connected to that. Because again, your body didn't have a chance to restore and repair your muscles overnight. So of course you feel crappy. Your muscles are like, they're screaming at you like, we don't want to, we can't, we didn't repair ourselves. Or here's another example. If you do work out, and I've of course had this happen so many times. A client comes in for their training session. We're working out. I have unbeknownst to me, right? I've planned a regular workout. So there they are. They're squatting. They're lifting. They're pulling and pushing and carrying and hinging, all the things, and they're just dragging. And they're like, this feels hard. This feels heavy. This hurts. This feels tight. And I'm getting this feedback, and I'm like, man, okay, well, wow, like what happened? And 9.5 times out of 10, the answer is I did not sleep. I couldn't fall asleep. I woke up at 2:30 and couldn't fall back asleep. XYZ, right? It could be so many reasons why you're not sleeping, but a lot of times that is the reason why your workout is sucking. And it becomes a question at that point too, like what's more important, sleep or your workout? And I actually have seen this argument on social media quite a bit. And I'm team sleep. I believe that your sleep is more important than your workout. Not that I want all my clients to cancel on me when they don't sleep well, but I want my clients to fix their sleep so that they don't get into this position of having to cancel because they didn't sleep good, right? That's the real solution. And I love now that I have cannabis as a tool to offer my clients, because a lot of my clients now already use it and so forth. But when I first started as a personal trainer, if clients were chronically canceling because they were chronically not sleeping, I always felt so terrible. I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Like, obviously this needs to be fixed, but what's the solution? Okay, well, now we have a solution, and it's a simple, it's relatively simple, right? I mean, like, you don't have to get high to do it. You can take CBD and that'll help you sleep through the night. And I went into all of that in the other podcast. One more thing I want to point out too is just the mood changes that happen when we don't sleep, right? If you can't fall asleep, or you wake up in the middle of the night because you can't sleep, or you get woken up and then can't fall back asleep, which is a whole problem, you are cranky AF, right? Irritable, like you're biting at people, you're snapping is the word I meant. You're snapping at people. You are just not in a great place. And that can make some of the other habits a lot harder, right? I mean, you may have been there in this situation where you didn't sleep, you're cranky AF, and you're hungry, right? What happens? I'm laughing because I've been there. What happens when you're cranky AF, you didn't sleep, and you're hungry? Well, that's when the not best decisions happen, right? Because you don't care at that point. You are too cranky, too irritable, too tired, too exhausted, too hungry to be making a good decision, when you may have maybe all day you were like, I had all my protein all day, and I had all my vegetables, and I was snacking on fruit, and I had, maybe you had like just a wonderfully macro friendly day, but you didn't sleep. So now you are like, let me order a pizza for dinner because I'm hungry, cranky, and tired. Where are the chips to eat while I wait for that pizza? And after the pizza, where is the ice cream? You're looking for things that are just not helping you meet your goal, right? I also feel like I should point out too, because this is like a thing now on social media where everybody calls out people for being too one way or the other. And I want to say that there is absolutely nothing wrong with pizza, chips, and ice cream. It is the unfortunate habit of this happening a lot that is causing the problem, right? And if you have specific goals to either maintain your weight, lose your weight, hit a fitness goal, run a 5K, do a high rocks, whatever it is, you probably are trying to keep to some sort of clean eating regimen. Okay, just a caveat in there. I don't want you to think that I'm like totally anti-pizza. Anyway, you can see from these real things that happen all day that this is why sleep is so dangerous to your fitness and weight loss goals, right? If you're not sleeping, meaning you're not eating according to your plan, you are super sore, your workouts are struggling, or you're not getting them in. What if you're training for a high rocks and you're on a timeline? You've got a deadline that you need to be ready for, and if you're not sleeping, your workouts are suffering, and then that race that you trained and paid for is going to suffer. These are the consequences of not sleeping, and that's what I really wanted to talk about today, because the consequence of not sleeping is you not hitting your goal. It's that important. It could be the single thing holding you back. You think it's just that you're not getting your workouts in. You think it might just be that you're not eating according to your plan. You think it might just be that you're cranky and exhausted all the time. But can you connect it back to sleep? Is it possible that you're not sleeping enough, right? Everybody talks about 7 to 9 hours. Yeah, great. That's great. Get what you need, but what's most important is that you get quality sleep, right? Whatever that means for your body, where you fall asleep when you're tired, you sleep fully until you wake up, right? Not, I woke up at 2:30 a.m. to go to the bathroom and I couldn't get back to sleep, right? Not laying awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to count sheep until 1:30 in the morning, and then finally falling asleep and having to get up at 6, right? You want to get quality sleep, and that's what cannabis can help you. And when you solve that problem, suddenly all the other frustrations with your weight or fitness goal suddenly become a whole lot easier, right? Suddenly cravings are gone. Suddenly you're not sore all the time. Your workouts don't feel hard. They don't feel like torturous, like you're dragging yourself through it. You're not as cranky. You're not as exhausted. You're not as irritable. You are more likely to make these better food choices, stay on a plan if you have one, hit your workouts, do all the things are so much, 100,000 times, 80 million bazillion times easier when you sleep well. That is my whole point. So I hope that was helpful for you today. I hope that if for some reason you hadn't already connected lack of sleep with the frustrations you're having towards your fitness or weight loss goal, that this helped you really put that in perspective. And then if you do want to use cannabis, if you haven't already, go back and listen to that episode, because that's where I explain how to choose the cannabis based on your goal. So also, if you're listening to this in real time, it is Wednesday, it is Wednesday, July 30th. And in 1 week, on Tuesday, August 4th, I'm hosting a free workshop where I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about sleep. I'm going to talk about cravings. I'm going to talk about workout recovery and relaxation and how to do that as a midlife woman, or really anybody. I work mostly with women, which is why I say that a lot, but it's really for everyone who is in midlife and wants to use cannabis for things other than getting high. I mean, yes, when you're relaxing, it's nice to have a little buzz, to your own delight, but to use it for the other things as well is just so, so important. And I think it's worth giving you my time to explain that, and so that you know exactly how to look for cannabis, why it's important, what to look for, and how to solve for that problem. So if you're interested in that, I will put the link to sign up in the show notes. You can always reach out to me with any questions. Please feel free anytime. My email is beth@cannafitnessnutrition.com, and I hang out mostly on Instagram, where I am Beth_Canna Fitness Nutrition. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.